Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about the next steps in the Budget Mom's Budget by Paycheck method. In my last video, I did go over step number 1, which was figuring out your why. I explained what mine is, and I kind of gave you an idea of what to expect on this channel. And I also introduced myself a little bit, tell you a little bit about who I am, why I'm starting this channel, and what to expect in upcoming videos. So if you didn't check that out, I will leave a little flag up here so you can go and see that before checking out this one, and I will also leave it down below in the description box. So in this video, I will be going over the remaining steps in the Budget Mom's Budget by Paycheck method and kind of tie in my real numbers, show you how much debt I do have, and I will be breaking it down step by step to show you how to get started if this is something that you haven't heard of before, or you want to also get started and join me on my debt-free journey. So let's go ahead and get started. So the next step in the Budget by Paycheck method is tracking your spending. Here I have a transaction log. Yours can really be anything. So what I did before I even got started was I took a transaction log like this, and I just took my checking account and would just write every single transaction in here. Now, I didn't do this today because I've already done this. You can use your bank statements, you can use your app, you can really just use a pen and paper. And what I did was, like I said, I put every single line down, money going in, money going out, everything that I spent, and then you just break your spending down into different categories. For example, groceries, food, pet, kids, household, beauty, whatever it is. Track your spending. See what different categories you can come up with, so that can make your variable expenses a little bit easier to break down. And also try to figure out how much you're spending in these different categories so you can kind of figure out your budget for them moving forward. So that's going to be step number 2. And let me just add that you can continue to use this. Like, I'm gonna continue using a transaction log to track my spending even after I do my budget by paycheck. So if I need to make any changes moving forward, I can see where all my money is actually going. So step number 3 is your bills and fixed expenses. Now, these are expenses that don't tend to change, and these are bills that you're obligated to pay monthly. And these are my actual monthly bills and their amounts. So I will go through them just to give you an idea of what mine look like. Okay, so on the first, I have rent. If you watched my last video, you know that I do live in an apartment, and I do split the rent with my boyfriend. So my half is $600. Then I also, on the same day, I pay my Ulta credit card. Now, for these, you want to just write the minimum amount. This is the minimum you must pay every month to make an on-time payment. This is established by the actual creditor. Next, Capital One, student loan, SFC loan, NBT credit. When we get to internet, this is also split between me and my boyfriend. My half is $30. Same with electric, my half is $40. My cell phone, my car payment. Now, when we get down to this Chase joint card, this is a credit card that my boyfriend and I both have together, and we put all of our furniture for our new apartment on here. This is not the minimum amount of the credit card. It's probably somewhere around $30 to $40. But this is the minimum amount that we decided on that each of us are going to pay each month. And then lastly, car insurance per month. I also have a couple of subscriptions. I put them separately, even though they are fixed, because I do want to see what I am paying in subscriptions. So Apple Music 5, Disney Plus 13, they both come out on the 5th. My total amount for my bills and fixed expenses is $1,597. Right now, I do feel like this is okay. Once I do get some of these credit cards and loans paid off, this amount will go down. If one of your goals is to become debt-free and you are paying more in expenses than income than you have coming in, then that goal will essentially be unattainable. So definitely take a look at if your expenses, your monthly expenses is more than your monthly income, and see if you can tweak some of these or decrease them in any way to kind of help out with that. The step after that will be figuring out your variable expenses. I do want to go back to the transaction log for a second to figure out your variable expenses. So when you are doing your transaction log, you will see that these will also be coming out. But keep in mind the variable expenses that aren't fixed, such as your grocery bill, eating out, spending money on beauty or your pets or your kids or your household, whatever it is that aren't fixed expenses will be your variable expenses. And using a transaction log will help you determine how much you're spending on these categories and how much you need to budget for these categories. That is the next step, is figuring out your variable expenses. If anybody does need help figuring out this step, please let me know down below and I'd be more than happy to help you figure out what your variable expenses are. Moving on to the step after figuring out your variable expenses will be the budget calendar. I'm gonna be doing October, so by the time you see this, it will be nearing the end of October, but I do want to go back and show you what the full month looked like for me and go through my last paycheck that I had. Since it is already finished, I think it'll be easier to show you kind of from start to finish what mine looked like. That way when we do move forward, you kind of get an idea of what my paychecks are gonna look like moving forward. So the next step is to do the monthly budget calendar, and how you do that is you just write in all the days that you're gonna get paid, whether it's bi-weekly, weekly, or monthly, and then you take your fixed expenses that you wrote down here and just copy them over to here. So I'm first going to write in my paychecks that I had in October, and I got paid on the 2nd, the 16th, and I will get paid on the 30th. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I will be transferring these fixed expenses over to here. So I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. Okay, now that we have our monthly calendar filled out, what you're going to do is you're going to take different colors and highlight these different paychecks. Okay, so I have these midliner markers here, so I'm just going to take out 3 colors because I have 3 paychecks. If you had 2 paychecks, you'd do 2 colors. If you had 1, you do 1 color, and so on and so forth. That one's going to be yellow. This one's going to be brown, and this one's going to be this orangey color. Okay. So we have our monthly calendar all set up. We will be going through and assigning each bill to each paycheck. But so before we do that, we do want to establish what our savings goals are and what our debt picture looks like. So let's go ahead and do that. So I did already write these down just to save some time. So for me, these are my savings goals. My number 1 goal is to have $1,000 set aside for an emergency fund. And my second goal is to have a checking account cushion of $500. Those are my 2 main savings goals. Now for sinking funds can be a little bit confusing, but I am going to try to make it as easy as possible to explain. So for me, I have 6 of them. So my first one is holiday, and this one obviously has a due date, and it's December 1st. I don't have a goal amount for it, but if you did, you would put how much you want saved by December 1st, how many months you have to save it, and then the monthly amount you have to pay each month for it until it's due. So since I am starting so late in the year, mine is just unlimited. I'm gonna try and save as much as I can for holiday before December 1st. Next one is kiddie boarding. Now, If you watched my last video, you know that I just moved to Texas with my boyfriend and all of my family lives in New York. So for Thanksgiving, we are going back to New York and we are leaving November 20th. So I do want to have some money for the trip, and we also need to board our cat. So I am going to try and save $300 for cat boarding and $200 for the trip. Now these are kind of overestimated. I just want to make sure I have enough just in case. I know that sinking funds can be a little bit confusing, and I probably do mine a little bit different, but some of them do have due dates. Some of them are just kind of essentially just like little savings accounts that you use when you go to spend money in these different categories. Whatever it is, you can just do like little sub savings accounts and just put money towards them and then use that money for those categories when the time comes for you to spend your money in those categories that aren't your variable expenses. I'm sorry if it is confusing. They definitely are a little bit confusing, and it did take me a little bit to kind of figure out what they are and how to make them work. I'm sure I will come up with a lot more sinking funds, but right now this I think is good enough for me. If you do need any help figuring out your sinking funds, figuring out determining what a goal amount is or anything like that, I will leave a resource down below, but you can also message me or comment down below if you need any help, and I'd be more than happy to help you out with that. Okay, now on to the whole reason why I'm starting this journey to begin with, and that is my debt. So this is my debt picture. As you can see down here, my current total debt is over $31,000. So for me, I'm doing my priorities based on the highest interest rate going down. I have 7 different debts and they range from $300 to $12,000. Okay, my first priority is this Ulta credit card because it has the highest interest. So any extra money that I have that isn't allocated for, I will be putting towards this credit card because I want to pay this one off first so that I'm not paying so much in interest. Next is Capital One credit card, a loan, my car loan, another credit card, my student loans, and then a care credit. You may see that this credit card's interest rate is not going to be 0 after November. So I will be making this a top priority. I do need to have this credit card paid off by November. Luckily, it is my lowest amount, so that shouldn't be too hard to pay off. So this is my whole reason for starting this journey. As you can see, my credit cards are out of hand. I have loans. My biggest one is my student loan, and I'd really love to be debt-free. I would love to see this page completely blank, and that is my goal. So I don't know how long it's gonna take me to pay this off, but I'm hoping that starting to pay these off, highest interest rate to lowest interest rate, it won't be as hard, especially if I'm not using these credit cards anymore. So this is my debt. These are my real numbers. This is why I'm doing this. I want to see this number go down. I want to be debt free. This is my #1 goal. So any of my extra money is gonna go towards my debt from #1 priority all the way down to 7 until they're all paid off. So one of the last steps in the Budget Moms Budget by Paycheck method is the Paycheck Bill Tracker. So let me walk you through the sheet and then we'll go ahead and fill it in using my numbers. You're gonna start off with the month and the day of the paycheck. And then over here, you're gonna put in your income. So budgeting your income, if it's not fixed, can be hard. If your paycheck varies paycheck to paycheck, it's not a fixed amount every single time you get paid, you wanna put in here the amount that is guaranteed. The least amount that you're guaranteed, without overtime, without a bonus, the minimum amount that you're guaranteed to bring home every paycheck. And then when you actually get paid, you're gonna put the actual amount here. Now this can get a little bit tricky depending on what you do. So if you have a special situation, let me know down below if you need help figuring that out. I get a fixed amount every single paycheck. So mine can be a little bit easier, but for those who their paycheck varies, whether they have overtime or they get bonuses, or it's just like their hours get cut or increased, yours is gonna look very different. I want to make that very clear. Everybody's budgeted income is going to be very different depending on what you do, how you're paid. So if you have any questions, please let me know down below. If you need help figuring out your budgeted income, please let me know and I can help. So after you get your income total, what you're going to do is you're going to take your budget calendar and you're going to see which bills you're going to pay with that paycheck. If I'm doing the month of October and I'm doing this paycheck for October 16th through the 29th, because I don't get paid again until the 30th. Start doing this for a little while. You may want to change some things around depending on if you have enough for these bills for this paycheck, or maybe you want to pay this with that paycheck, or you want this to be paid with that paycheck. Definitely play around with it. This will be a lot of trial and error, okay? I would suggest doing kind of like a rough draft before you lay it out on here, because I kind of see this as like a final draft, and what I'm showing you is what my final draft looks like. But when I'm just going through and figuring this out for the first time, I will just get a separate piece of paper and figure out my different options. My different options could have been, I could have used this paycheck to pay for these. I could have used this paycheck to pay for that. I could use this paycheck to pay for my first month's rent in November. So you have so many options that you can do with each paycheck. I would 100% suggest you write down all the different options and then go with the one that works best for you, and then put it in a final here. So I will be showing you my final draft of this paycheck. So let me go ahead and mark down what bills I'm going to be paying with this paycheck, and then we'll go ahead and transfer that over to here. So if we're doing the October 16th paycheck, I'm going to mark off that I paid this, 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 and this with that paycheck. So that means that I paid all of these bills with that paycheck, and that means I'm going to pay this bill with that paycheck. That means that we paid our rent and our credit card with the paycheck from September. What I'm gonna do is all of these bills that are in brown, I'm going to transfer over to the bills section of our budget by paycheck tracker. Okay, so my income, I'm gonna do paycheck here. So for my paycheck from October 16th, I budgeted $1,530. Okay, so that's $1,530 right there. And then, like I said, all of these bills that are in brown are going to be paid with this paycheck. Go ahead and write those down in this bills section. The first one is going to be the NBT credit. And that comes out on the 22nd. And that we are budgeting $257 for. So I do want to explain this a little bit. Like I said, this MBT credit card has to be paid off by November 1st. So that means I have $384.18 to pay by November 1st. And as you can see on here, I have this paycheck and October 30th's paycheck to pay off that credit card. So what I'm doing is I'm splitting that. I'm going to be paying the $257 for this paycheck, and I'll pay the rest for the next paycheck. The next one is going to be internet. And that comes out the 23rd. And I'm budgeting $30 for that. And then it's gonna be electric. And that is due on the 25th. And that's gonna be budgeted $40. Okay, and then there's gonna be my cell phone. That's also on the 25th, and that's gonna be $108. And then my car payment. That's coming out on the 27th. I'm budgeting $300 for my car payment. And then the Chase credit card comes out also on the 27th, and that's gonna be $200. So I do have my calculator here. We're gonna go ahead and add all those up. Is $935. So what you're gonna do is you're going to put the bill total here, $935, and then you're going to take your income minus your bill total, and that leaves $595. So $595 is what I have left for my variable expenses, my sinking funds, my extra debt, and my extra savings. Here we're gonna take the leftover $595 and bring it down here. And then my variable expenses are gonna be groceries, eating out, miscellaneous, coffee, household, kitty, and beauty. So for groceries, we budget $100 every 2 weeks. Eating out $50, miscellaneous $20, coffee $15, household $30, the cat gets $20, and beauty is $80. So these aren't going to be the same every single week. It's really just, it could be just about like what's going on. Usually groceries and eating out are going to stay the same, but these ones may change. The reason beauty's $80 is because I did have a hair appointment on the 17th, so that's why my beauty category was so high. But usually these won't be very high. But I do like to give myself a little budget just in case there is something going on. So I'm gonna add these up to see what my total variable expenses are. So the total for my variable expenses is gonna be $315. So $595 minus $315 is $280. So that gives us $280 left over for sinking funds, extra debt, and extra savings. So I'm gonna bring the $280 up to leftover for sinking funds. So for my sinking funds for this paycheck, I'm gonna have holiday, kitty boarding, car maintenance, and Thanksgiving trip. And for holiday is gonna be 100, kitty boarding is gonna be 80, cart maintenance is gonna be 50, and the Thanksgiving trip is gonna be 50. that is gonna be $280. So as you can see, I don't have anything left over for extra debt or extra savings. But my thought is, if anything extra, if I am under budget, will go towards my number one priority for my debt. So I'll just write here. So my number one is my Ulta credit. So any extra, if under budget, will go to debt. Okay, so in my next video, I will show you guys what the actuals column will look like, and we will close out this paycheck together. And then we will also start the next paycheck after that. So we will see if we do have any extra money to go towards this debt. If you do have any questions, let me know down below, or you can message me on my Instagram at budgetwithkey. So I am left with a zero-based budget, so each dollar is allocated for in each category. So like I said, in my next video, we will be going over this actual column and filling it out to see if we do have any extra funds to go towards debt. If we don't, that's okay. We will tackle our debt moving forward. It's just this particular budget, a lot went to our fixed expenses and our variable expenses. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of my budget and my journey to becoming debt-free, definitely give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and leave any questions or comments down below. You can also message me on Instagram at budgetwithkey. I will leave the last video I did down below if you want to go check that out. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.